for further questioning. 3 people are also being held in Nottingham as part of the inquiry into the explosion at a gasworks in Warrington and the shooting of a policeman. The IRA have already admitted carrying out the bombing.
In a fierce attack on the social chapter of the Maastricht Treaty, the Prime Minister has said Britain's European partners can keep it. Britain will have the jobs. But Mr Major, who was speaking at the Conservative Local Government Conference in London, admitted that getting people back to work would be a hard fight. Labour said the speech showed the government was out of touch and out of ideas.
Although this was ostensibly a local government conference and the bulk of his speech focused on council matters, the Prime Minister began by linking the 2 issues at the top of the political agenda, unemployment in Europe, by stressing the jobs potential resulting in the government's rejection of the social chapter. In doing so, he managed to dig at Britain's partners in Europe and, by implication, some of his own MPs who may vote for the social chapter in an attempt to wreck Maastricht.
France can complain as much as it likes. If investors and businesses choose to come to Britain rather than pay the costs of socialism in France, let them call it social dumping. I call it dumping socialism.
He said that other EC countries could have the social chapter, Britain would have the jobs. But his language was more conciliatory when addressing the relationship between central and local government. During the poll tax era, there was much hostility between the two. Now a new relationship was being encouraged.
My message, in essence, is straightforward. Let's stop batting one another around the head and get on with good government.
The level of council tax bills due to be sent out for the first time in a few weeks is unlikely to cause a big political storm. But the tough spending limits faced by councils, including some Conservative ones, could result in job losses, the issue which Mr Major acknowledges to be the main concern of the moment.
Earlier, the Education Secretary John Patten told the conference the government was spending £10 million on stamping out truancy in schools. It's part of a programme to combat juvenile delinquency. Mr Patten said the money would be distributed among the 70 local councils which had come up with the best ideas on tackling the problem. Finance ministers from the group of 7 leading industrial countries have agreed on the need to stimulate economic growth and create more jobs, as long as it doesn't lead to higher inflation. They've been holding several hours of informal talks in London.
President Clinton's new Treasury Secretary, former Senator Lloyd Bentsen, came to London to reinforce Mr Clinton's challenge yesterday to the world's leading industrial nations to act before the 1990s becomes a decade of depression. No decisions were made, but Senator Bentsen liked what he heard.
I'll report to the President that we had a very positive first meeting, that we're moving in the right direction, and that we have begun to lay the basis for a stronger world economy.
The Chancellor, who hosted today's meeting of the finance ministers of the United States, Japan, Germany, as well as the 4 lesser economies, described President Clinton's keynote speech yesterday as courageous. But he repeated his recent statements that he had no further interest rate cuts in mind for Britain, and he saw no quick fixes for unemployment at home or abroad.
This country, like other countries, faces a problem of rising unemployment. We would expect unemployment, obviously, to continue to rise for some time.
The finance ministers will meet again in April in Washington, and their bosses will meet in Tokyo in July. By then, it will be clearer whether Germany and Japan will respond to President Clinton with anything more than friendly words.
New York police say 5 people died and more than 1,000 were injured in last night's explosion at the World Trade Center. 2 people are still missing. The blast was in the basement underneath the Trade Center, which is the 2nd tallest building in the world. Investigators suspect it was caused by explosives in a vehicle in the top parking level, but they can't confirm that until the area is made safe.
Exactly 24 hours after the blast, and the authorities confirmed what had been rumoured overnight. This was a bomb, and a large one. At a news conference, the police chief of New York said further tests would be necessary, but it had all the hallmarks of being caused by explosives. The World Trade Center, the 2nd largest building in the world, has been structurally damaged. It will remain closed until the early part of next week while engineers determine the extent.
I thank all the people who reached out to the injured and the frightened amid the tumult that shook lower Manhattan. Following the explosion, I spoke with New York's Governor Mario Cuomo and New York City Mayor David Dinkins. to assure them that the full measure of federal law enforcement resources will be brought to bear on this investigation.
New York's Governor Mario Cuomo is now in New York, having toured the area earlier this morning, going to the World Trade Center to see for himself the extent of destruction underground, looking at the control rooms that were devastated by the blast. Governor Cuomo has already said he believes the explosion was caused by a bomb. But if this is a bomb blast, who might be responsible is the question. Reports of telephone calls to the authorities have been largely discounted, as has any connection to US policy in Bosnia.
No, we have no way of corroborating that, and we don't at this time see that link.
Americans aren't used to terrorist attacks on US soil, so it appears the World Trade Center was an open opportunity. Richard Quest, BBC News, New York.
Now sport. On the day English football remembered one of its greatest players. Here's David Davis.
Football and its supporters came together today to pay tribute to the late Bobby Moore. At Roker Park, Sunderland, flags were at half-mast before the game with Moore's old club, West Ham. Fans of both teams paid their own respects to the former England captain in the centre circle. Then it was the players' turn. At 1 minute to 3 o'clock, a silence. Other tributes to Bobby Moore, including a Wembley match in his memory, are expected over the next few months. In the FA Premier League, Aston Villa maintained their lead over Manchester United at the top. Both won today. Dwight Yorke got Villa's only goal against Wimbledon with 10 minutes left. Ryan Giggs scored again for Manchester United as they beat Middlesbrough at Old Trafford, and 2 more goals from Teddy Sheringham confirmed Tottenham's impressive form against Queen's Park Rangers. Villa's lead at the top of the table remains 2 points, though Manchester United have that game in hand. Norwich play tomorrow. Sheffield Wednesday drew 1-1 with Liverpool. In Scotland, well, Rangers top scorer Ali McCoist added 1 more to his goal tally in the win over Hearts. It extended Rangers' lead at the top of the table to 9 points. Aberdeen's game was postponed. Celtic won at Falkirk. The Giant Killers Waterloo are out of Rugby Union's Pilkington Cup. They'd knocked out the Holders Bath and Orrell in previous rounds, but in an ill-tempered quarter-final today, they were beaten by Harlequins 21-14.
For a while, it seemed that Waterloo's cup adventure would claim a third notable scalp. Although Aitchison was denied a try on this occasion when he lost the ball on the line, Waterloo's intense early pressure paid off when their live-wire scrum half Chris Savaramutu stole over. But a highly competitive match was to be tainted later by complaints from Waterloo that Harlequins were guilty of foul play and wearing illegal studs. 3 Quins players were ordered to change their boots during the game. Waterloo are considering a protest. Harlequins deny any malpractice. Then, in first half injury time, a neat turn of pace by Mike Wedderburn turned the match in Harlequins' direction. Gliding past a series of would-be challengers, Wedderburn accelerated away for a try which put his side 13-8 ahead at half-time. A second try, 20 minutes from the end, sealed Waterloo's fate as a 3-man overlap ended with a score from the Australian fullback Kent Bray. Harlequins will be joined in Monday's semi-final draw by Wasps, Northampton and Leicester. They beat Exeter 76-0.
Leeds, who last appeared in Rugby League's Challenge Cup final 15 years ago, are the first side through to this season's semi-finals. They beat Castleford by 12 points to 8.
After their poor start to the season, the Challenge Cup now represents Leeds' best chance of seeing a worthwhile return on their hefty investment in players this year, and thanks to the strength and determination of Jim Fallon, they're still on course to get it. His opening try, though, was the only product of having the wind at their backs, and they seemed to have thrown away the advantage when Mike Ford equalised for Castleford just before half-time. But in the second half, Castleford wasted the benefits of the worsening weather, and Leeds' greater resolve enabled them to keep up the pressure, which eventually brought its reward. Fallon again allowing nothing to prevent him getting to the line. Final score 12-8, Leeds through to their first semi-final in 7 years.
Party politics. Last year's Grand National winner has won his first race since that triumph at Aintree last April. He took the Greenalls Gold Cup at Haydock Park, but he'd had to hold off a strong challenge from Fiddler's Pike. ridden by 50-year-old amateur Rosemary Henderson.
On the far side, Fiddler's Pike responding for Rosemary Henderson is fighting back. It's Party Politics a length in front. Fiddler's Pike trying hard on the far side, but he's back Party Politics. He's drawing away now, and he's going to win the Greenalls Gold Cup. It's Party Politics by 4 or 5 lengths. Fiddler's Pike a game second.
That's it for now. The main news is at 9:10 on BBC One.
Good evening, and still racing down to us from the Arctic, very cold air, and of course that's brought snow showers, as I'm sure you're aware. Almost all these speckles on the radar picture are of snow. Most of the snow's been in Scotland, but every now and again you get a belt that runs right the way through England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Aberdeen recorded 14 centimetres, and of course there's been snow for the Scottish ski resorts. Certainly good news, as the wind will die down tomorrow. Tonight, though, a very cold night, a penetrating frost. The temperature's lower than last night, the wind's just about as strong, and the thrust of the snow still again through northern Scotland, down the eastern side of England, but temporarily the next couple of hours through East Anglia and even into central southern England. A light dusting here, I would think. Now tomorrow, as I said, the wind's dying as the ridge builds over Scotland and Northern Ireland, but still pretty cold for all of us. The snow showers existing at first in the north, they'll die back, and then the main thrust again, the southeast quadrant, maybe right the way down to Dorset temporarily. Very cold day yet again, and if you add the wind chill, it'll feel like several degrees well below zero. So wrap up well, but do enjoy yourself. That's it from me. Good night.